Hello again, everyone. It's Vince Four from TradeWinds.com, and this is our update for February 15th, 2017. Let's take a quick look at today's markets. Well, a fifth straight day of record highs for equities. Boy, sentiment out there is very positive, and it's absolutely taking over this market. What a run. We know that this won't last forever, but no end in sight. Plain and simple. The Dow was up 107 points today, while the S&P 500 was up 11 and a half. The Nasdaq up 36, and the Russell was also up almost 8 points today. Now, bonds, bit of a different story here. Did not hold this moving average and is moving lower. And I think now its fate is pretty much sealed. It really does look like it is going to come down to test these lows and could be headed lower. One of the reasons for that was made clear by Janet Yellen in her comments regarding deregulation. And if we do see the level of deregulation that Donald Trump is promising, then the banks won't be required to hold as many bonds as they are right now. And so we could see more selling there, which means higher yields coming around the corner there. Now, gold today, bouncing off that 20, very, very positive here, while crude was down about 9 cents, not a big deal. Gold bouncing about 8 points or so. Now, even, excuse me, wanted to talk a bit about the doji candle, all right? And the doji is interesting. Have a look at the doji on Apple right now. So, we we move straight higher here. Suddenly, we get this candle that looks much different than the rest of these. And this is what we call a doji, or an indecision type candle, indecisive candle. The reason is, if you look at a regular candle and read it this way. So, if you look at any one of these green candles, let's take yesterday's, all right? It's green because we opened at the lower edge of the body here and closed at the top edge. In other words, we closed higher than where we opened. And that's why it's positive. That's why it's green. But basically, we opened here. We went as low as this tip, as high here, and then settled at the close. So when we look at each individual candle and we consider that a tug of war between buyers and sellers, we can clearly say that buyers won this, okay? And when you have a trend like you do here, not only are buyers winning the individual tug of wars, but they're in control overall. But when you get to a candle like this, what this means is we opened here, we went as low as this point, as high as this point, and then closed once again where we opened. In other words, there was no clear winner of this tug of war. Now, we did close slightly higher than where we closed yesterday. So overall, you can say buyers did win out, but obviously there was more selling than what we've seen recently. So what does it really mean? Well, it's just a reason for pause. In other words, tomorrow's trading will be very interesting here. Very important. If we get a candle that looks something like this and is red, okay? Let me color that in just so you get a proper perspective here. If you get a candle that looks something like this, now that will indicate a very high likelihood of a coming pullback, which is not a big deal. It's just a retracement, would be very healthy. But the point is, if we close below today's low, now we've basically turned a corner. And I want to go back to the chart of gold and show you here why so many times these dojis appear at the end of downtrends or retracements, and at the bottom here at the beginning of an up move. In other words, they many times are at those turning points. You can see them here. You can see it up in here. If I zoom in, right in here was a doji type candle where ended this run and started that downturn. And then there's a doji down in here, which caused that, it didn't cause it, but it was a signal, of that coming turn. So the very next day or the next couple of days here are going to be very important when it comes to Apple here. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you or talk about a doji is because eventually on these index charts, we will most likely see a doji before a turnaround. Okay? Hope that helps. That's about it for now. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on our next update.